We first thought of organizing a conference on how to stick the soda genie back in the bottle. I figured we'd have a lot of the activists, local activists, scholars who know a lot about the soft drink industry because they read Advertising Age and Beverage Digest and Marketing Week and Ad Week and all that stuff. And from the outside, that's what you have to do to try to figure out how does that behemoth actually work? What are the people thinking of? What are the strategies that they're using? And you only get so deep reading the information that comes out in trade publications or the Wall Street Journal. I never for a moment thought that we'd have a former executive of the world's largest soft drink company here to tell us something about it. But Todd Putman is exactly that person. He knows about the industry from the inside. For 4 years, about 10 years ago, he was the managing director of carbonated soft drink marketing for Coca-Cola. And then he was the vice president of innovation for brand Coke. He knows the broad strategies of the industry, he knows the tactics that the companies use, and he knows it as well as anybody in the country. Prior to working at Coke, Todd worked at Procter & Gamble, Disney, and other companies. And since leaving Coke and getting religion, he's worked as a marketing consultant for various companies, including Bolthouse Farms, a major carrot grower. They make all the baby carrots, or half the baby carrots in this country. So Todd, it's great to have you here, and give us a little peek about what goes on the inside.
Thanks, Michael. Congratulations to you and your team for hosting this event. This really is a tremendous occasion. Thank you, sir. And a momentous one. I suspect that we will look back on this in 10 years and really see this as the start of something spectacular. I don't like podiums. I will tend to walk around a lot. Oprah and myself have a lot in common, so you'll just have to deal with that nervous energy in that way. And I appreciate all of you having me here, and I have a tremendous respect for what all of you do. Today, go ahead and change that slide, Mr. David. As Michael said, I've got 25 years of experience in brand management and marketing. It is really all that I do. The well source and my passion is understanding consumers, understanding why they do what they do, and getting them, quite frankly, to do more of it, depending on what I'm doing. So some of you don't really like me in that way, and I understand that, and I respect that. But that is what I do, and that happens to be my passion. I was at Coca-Cola for almost 4 years, and as Michael said, I was responsible for carbonated soft drinks. So nothing with bubbles, everything with bubbles, and that was a pretty big job. Certainly felt like a big job. And when I left there, I was the vice president of innovation, which meant that I was accountable for new ideas, new packaging, new products inside North America. Okay? Now, I think you got to start something like this, which is, what is my motivation? Who are you being paid for, or paid by, or not paid by? And I would tell you that obviously I'm here pro bono. My motivation is that I am not against soft drinks per se. Now, koosh, there comes a glass. But what I am for is a balance of power, and I think the power has shifted in the wrong direction. The resources, the scale, the intelligence, the strategy that those companies use is absolutely intense. And that intensity, in many, many cases, does not work out. Certainly among today's youth. But what I'm very specifically for today is trying to use exactly some of the strategies that they use and some of the things that I'm going to tell you about to flip that and to get healthier products to be way cooler. And I'm going to talk a lot about rational message versus emotional message and take you through exactly how that works and why it works. So, the health piece, I'm not going to get into. I am not an expert, but it is very clear to me, just looking at the data, that there is a linkage between sugar-based soft drinks, and obesity and some of the healthcare issues that are confronting us. I'm not going to deal with that. That's logical to me. It is fact-based from either the Rudd Center or some other folks. So I'm not going to go into that space. Let's just assume that that's an assumption that is correct. Fair? So, how are soft drinks marketed? This is absolutely critical. The goal, everything that we used to do, whether it's Coke or Pepsi, and sometimes I'll talk about Coke, but it really is the soft drink industry, revolves and pivots around per capita consumption. It is critical that I get more ounces per day into more people. As simplistic as I can say it, it is per capita consumption. The data comes in that way. How I think about consumer segments, how I think about target segments is all based on how much of my product can I get into their stomachs per day. That per capita consumption really drives many, many strategies that you will see come up later in the presentation. The strategy is, and this was a mind-bending concept. At Procter & Gamble, we talked about share of market when I was growing up. I was really trying to get more Zest soap into somebody's house, and that share of market versus Ivory or Lava or whatever. Don't know why you would use Lava versus Zest, but let's not go there. But the notion of share of stomach is a mind-bending, altering paradigm. It suddenly goes from share of market and share of wallet to share of stomach. So then who becomes my competitor? Water. Anything that you might put in your stomach, I want to push out. And again, this was 10 or 12 years ago. Many of the issues that we now are confronting relative to obesity and health were not even part of our mindset. That's either right or wrong. I have no comment on that, but that was not in my front window. What was in my front window was, I don't really want you to drink any of those things. I want you to drink this, and more often. Now, the execution became everywhere and all the time. The scale is important here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I will really talk about the 3 A's: affordability, availability, and accessibility, or as some folks call it, within an arm's reach of desire. That is as clear of a strategy as I can lay out to you. Affordability, availability, and accessibility. And all of those things are different, and all of them have massive sub-strategies to them depending on channel, depending on target, depending on location, depending on whether it's something called immediate consumption, i.e. 7-Eleven, or future consumption, i.e. Ralph's. Okay? We only have 20 minutes. I mean, we literally could probably talk days upon days of all those strategies, but we're going to do this in about 20 minutes. So, affordability, not very hard, and we've talked, somebody mentioned in a previous presentation about it was you that talks about it was cheaper than, some of these things have to come up, the price, so it's cheaper than or soft drinks are cheaper than water in many, many cases, right? That's just crazy. But affordability was a big deal. So combo meals, big gulps, stack it high, let it fly. The bigger the display, the better off. 99 cents for a 6-pack. 99 cents for a big gulp. Having a construction worker take a 2-liter and buy it and have it for lunch was commonplace. So affordability, a big key. And pricing is not something that we can have any time on, but suffice it to say that having the best, most optimal price to drive per capita consumption is a clear strategy. Available. Coca-Cola has more fleet on the street than the U.S. Postal Service. There are more trucks delivering product than there are mail. Didn't even include Pepsi, just included Coke. The notion of 360-degree marketing. When you walk in a grocery store, my intent is to surround you and bombard you with messaging. From the deli to the snack and go to the in-store or to the aisle, to the fast lane or the checkout counter. I'm going to have a different message based on occasion. So if you're going to go to the deli and buy a sandwich, I will have one message. If you're in the aisle, I will have another message. And if you're in the fast lane, I'm going to have another message. So the notion of surrounding the consumer with occasion-based messaging is clear. Stadiums, fast food, casual food, all of that's available. Availability has the highest correlation with per capita consumption out there. More places, more per capita. A clear driver. Vending machines. There are millions of vending machines in the U.S. today. Well north of 3 million vending machines. Accessibility. Now, this is not the same as availability. Accessibility is how can I reach into your head, grab your cortex, and pull it back towards myself. That's accessibility. And that's what I try to do. I am pervasive. I spend billions of dollars making sure that I am touchable. I'm online, I'm offline, I'm at theme parks, I'm in the Olympics, I'm at American Idol, I'm everywhere you want to be. I'm sort of like Visa, but I'm not. So accessibility actually, that's not a really good point. When I say everywhere, I mean everywhere in your heart, not available. Accessible is really about how I reach you in your heart, not necessarily your wallet or with your feet. Okay, and I'll show some examples of that in a second. These are the numbers. This comes right off of their 10K reports. So that's 2009, 2010, 2011, a little over $7 billion spent. What we did is we looked at sugar-based spending. So what's the share of market, and therefore what is the sugar-based spending? You can see that in the far right-hand column. This data comes right off the February investor calls happening 2 months ago. Specifically, Pepsi said, we will spend $500 to $600 million this year, incremental to what the numbers that you see there. Coca-Cola said, I'm going to spend over the next 3 years another $650 million. All public information. More importantly, all of that will be dedicated towards carbonated soft drinks. Their main lifeblood would be a quote out of one of their analyst reports. So if you thought that you saw a lot of media before, just wait. There's going to be a ton more. Okay. Now, how does this room combat the billions that are being spent? My hypothesis is that we need to take all of the thinking and all of those strategies and convert it jujitsu, if that's the right word or analogy, to healthier products. I think the brand managers for healthier products suck. Now, it's not just that they don't have any money, and they don't, but the fact is they're not that creative, and they tend to talk in highly rational ways. And you know what? People don't give a shit. Don't tell me what to do. Lead my heart that direction. Don't tell me that it's got more vitamins or more this. Most of that, I don't care. And if I do care, if I'm a foodie, I will go find that information. The rest of the time, don't tell me what to do. Lead me that place. Connect with me emotionally, and I will be yours forever. Connect with that because my mom said it. I really don't care. Okay. Two sides of this. It's very simple. Intrinsic versus extrinsic. Rational versus emotional. Most advertising, most marketing will sit on this continuum. And I want to be clear that there are places to be rational and there are places to be emotional. But being all rational or all intrinsic, i.e. being about the product, does not work long term. It never has. It never will. There is not one example that you can show me in marketing world where a highly rational-based message is the largest brand or has been successful over a continued period of time. Maybe some of the infomercial, like, gyms, maybe, I don't know. But no, name one. If anybody can, I'll challenge that's not right. Okay, most good food and beverage marketing is emotional. Now, I have a ton of mixed emotions about that, because there's part of me who's like the really anal marketer goes, oh my God, that's brilliant. and in a way, if you can really take yourself away from what you know and go, man, they have taken that to a higher order benefit that is unbelievable. I mean, God would be one step up. But at least for 30 seconds, recognize that as brilliant, and then let's see if we can pull something out of that as a learning. They have always been emotional. Now, part of the issue is they got nothing to talk about rationally. But let's leave that aside for a second, because through history, and that 63 goes way, 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 way back. It's interesting to look at taglines. Every single tagline is emotive. Every single tagline has something about happiness, positive, optimism, blah, 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 fill in the blank, and you just go, it's great, right? Every single one. On both sides of the camp, Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Always emotive. I don't even know what the next slide is. Okay, now, there are some folks in New York, I'm so sorry. I love what you're doing, I love the guts, I love the initiative, but I don't want to be told this. I know it. I know that message, and it does not connect with me. I hear it, I get it, but guess what? Obesity rates are maybe leveling off, but certainly not going down precipitously. This stuff does not work. It works in terms of education, but it does not connect with my heart. And it does not make me do something differently than what I've done. So I applaud it on many, many levels. For all the New York folks in here, I applaud you. I mean, I bow down to you on a whole bunch of levels. On this stuff, it sucks. Relative to the mission of trying to connect with people and to get them to do things day in and day out, not just the day that they happen to see that ad. Because I don't remember this. It has no lasting effect in my head. Now, so here's a continuum. So I put the New York stuff over there. I'm sorry again. If you look at California almonds, there's a whole thing about eat so much almonds and they'll be really good for you. There's a girl going like this in her Lululemon outfit. So it's better, right? It's trying. Cuties, little orange thing out of Paramount Farms in California, better. We all remember Got Milk, and I think that I'm sure I've seen the facts that dairy consumption, or when they introduced this campaign, went up. This campaign worked, and they've been running it for how many years? I don't know, 22? The only reason why people do stuff, marketers do stuff again and again, is because it works. I think you're a marketer, right, down there? So, am I right? Otherwise, money goes away and it doesn't work. Pistachios, brilliant. A brilliant campaign. And that campaign literally has exploded the consumption of pistachios. Exploded. Baby carrots. Now, a little bit about baby carrots. Crazy thought. You guys are like, baby carrots, come on. But baby carrot consumption is flat to down, 3 to 4% for the last 2 to 3 years. Why? They what? They taste horrible? Yeah. 98% of people disagree with you. I've done the research. So you're the two. Live in that world. Do you know that like 2% of people don't use toilet paper either? When I was at Procter & Gamble, I did that research, and I was like, what? Not that you're the same 2%, okay? Yeah, you're not the same 2%. Okay, so keep going. Baby carrots, down 3 to 4%. Research says, I love baby carrots as much as I did yesterday. I'm kind of peeling them myself. They're cheaper, and I'll put them down in what we call the drawer of death because they sit there forever until it's a science experiment, right? So there's nothing wrong with baby carrots per se except awareness. So we could say, eat your baby carrots, eat your baby carrots, eat your baby carrots, or vitamin A, vitamin D, blah, 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 right? Did we choose to do that? Absolutely not. So here's one way of doing baby carrots.
Brought to you by a bunch of carrot farmers.
Baby carrots! Baby carrots! Whoa! Baby carrots! Baby carrots! Baby carrots! Extreme, impossible, stunt! Baby carrots! Baby carrots! Extreme pterodactyl! Baby carrots! Now in extreme junk food packaging!
Brought to you by a bunch of carrot farmers.
Indulge the most tasteful of your taste buds.
Baby carrots, baby.
Feel that feeling. You know the feeling.
Overt sexual innuendo.
Indulge the most tasteful of your taste buds.
You already said that.
Oh, baby. Carrots.
Baby carrots.
Now in chic junk food packaging.
Okay, we put baby carrots in vending machines. We put them in schools. Kids dressed up as Halloween baby carrots. The volume was up 10 to 13%, so much that we literally couldn't expand the campaign because why? We couldn't grow enough carrots. So the very literal point in that is that if you play in their world, and we played in a video game, we did a website, we did all of those things. Now somebody's going to ask me, yeah, but I don't have the resources to do that. We'll come to that in a second. But in this case, we did have the resources, and it worked. In one test market, up 10%, and another test market, up 13%. The delta in that is 13 and 16% change over a longer period, over a very long period of time, 9 months. This campaign is now expanding. So how do we do it? Again, I think you mentioned about social media. The social media and the web and digital has given all of us the ability to do really big stuff, to act as big as we possibly can with our messaging. To do that in an emotional way, and emotional can mean humor, it can mean attitude, it can mean clever, it can mean all kinds of things. And it can have a little bit of rational in there as a point of reference, but it has to elevate. It has to come up to be part of the culture, pop culture, to be something that's interesting for people to watch and to remember. And I think collaboration is key. I think that I know why that George and Michael do not have Coke and Pepsi in the room, but they are part of the problem, and if they are part of the problem, then they have to be part of the solution. Tell me, why can't the Coke brand manager take a day a week and be the brand manager for broccoli? I challenge that thought. I absolutely take the Pepsi person and put them in charge of beets. Because somebody asked me in the media, well, why aren't the people at the beets and the baked potatoes and all that, why aren't they doing some of this? And quite frankly, all of us are like marketers, are ego freaks. And we want to play with big toys and big budgets. And so quite frankly, the talent in baked potatoes and beets is not nearly what the talent is at Coca-Cola. So we've got to somehow change that paradigm. But I am so darn happy about some of the work that we're doing in baby carrots and healthier beverages and foods, and that I believe that that's right. And so with some of that evidence, you will see marketers begin to go, that's exciting stuff. I want to take cucumbers, or I want to take eggplant, or you know what I want to be? I want to be the brand manager of tap water. How can we possibly take tap water and make it enormously cool? I guarantee you, we could do that. That's all I have, okay? Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Todd, for a wonderful speech and looking at this whole issue from a different direction than we normally look at it. And you have time for questions?
Absolutely.
Good. Steve? Oh, there's a microphone.
I'd like to bring up an issue that is, in a sense, subversive marketing, and one that none of you and none of the public thinks about, and that is the excess sodium in the food supply. The food companies and the beverage companies are in this together. If there's more salt in the food supply, people are going to drink more soft drinks. Graham McGregor, who's headed up the anti-salt movement in the UK, published an article estimating roughly 6 billion extra cans were being sold per year in the UK of soda as a result of the excess sodium. In this country, one other published article I'll mention, a Finnish investigator named Karpanen estimated that in the US, the excess sodium resulted in roughly 240 extra calories per day on average from sweetened drinks. So it's something that in all of you in your planning efforts, and you probably haven't thought about this in terms of marketing, it's subversive. But they all have something to gain by it. The soda companies, by the excess sodium, they're going to sell more. Restaurants, when they give you extra salt, they're going to sell more wine and more soda and so forth. Something to think about. I'd actually like your reaction to that.
My point is that any brand or any product, I should say any product, can be turned into a success using the right strategies, as long as it's a good product. So let's, if we want to go anti-salt, then the same thing for anti-sugar applies. I'm not familiar with anti-salt or some of that data you're speaking of, but the point to me is very much the same. Figure out what's the message you want to communicate, and do that in a relevant and salient way to whomever target you're going after.
Next question.
Is it on? Yeah, okay. I'm Ingrid Daphner-Krasnow with Berkeley Media Studies Group. And one of the things that we talk to advocates about is including values in their messages when they're targeting policymakers or the powers that be. And so obviously the emotional aspect of the ads that we saw and the work that you're doing is a big part of those values, but how would you encourage advocates to incorporate values when talking about not drinking soda, or when talking about the importance of having affordable, accessible, clean water in communities?
We were doing some work with Michael on Food Day, and we brought, I said, Food Day needs to be a brand. And in every brand statement, I'm sure the guy sitting next to you who I think is in marketing, every brand statement has a unique selling proposition and then its values. So every brand in America has a statement around what values it stands for. Confidence, security, whatever that is. And that gets integrated, and you'll see that into the marketing, whatever said marketing is. And so if you're a nonprofit or an NGO or whatever that has a mission, if you don't have a brand statement, and and a look and a feel. I mean, I picked on George. The life is, where is this? I don't find that to be anywhere near attractive. It's not at the same, you're not playing in the same league as the guys you're playing against, right? I mean, it's, as a logo, and it also doesn't communicate anything about values. That's how I synapse there. But have that very clear positioning, have a very clear sense of values attached to that positioning, and that whatever creative person you will talk to will take that into the message.
Rudy, what do you think of this logo? Rudy's
Sorry,
firm
Rudy.
developed it.
I love it.
Sorry.
I'm with New York City on this one. Yeah, just kidding. My name is Rudy Ruiz, Todd, and I enjoyed your presentation tremendously. Loved it. Question that I had was actually if you could share maybe some insights from your experiences with regards to the practices or strategies that the big companies are using in multicultural audiences, Hispanic and African American specifically.
Well, I talked with some media folks the other day. Any big company, whether it's soft drinks or not, will target a target consumer that is important to them from a profit standpoint. Now, so let's forget whether it's African American or Asian American or Hispanic American. If that segment of the population drinks or eats more of my product for whatever reason, and I'm not going to deal with that for a second, then I will target that segment and I will invest in that segment because the lifetime value of those individuals is enormous to me. Now, that's really troubling to me, but it's just a fact. And it's true in soft drinks, and it's true in virtually any marketing scenario. If you're worth more to me as an African American, I will go after you in a big way, and it's just the way it is, from a pure marketing standpoint. I don't want to get shot here, but that's
Could you go just a little deeper on that? What we've seen is, there's the usual advertising, African American models or Latino models. What about the donation of money to minority organizations? How much of that goes on? Is it a significant consideration? And what's the purpose?
Well, the purpose is exactly what I just said. I mean, don't think about marketing as just television or just a website or digital. It is, I want to surround that individual and to touch messaging at wherever they may touch. So if it's churches or if it's Boys and Girls Club or wherever it is that target might be operating in, I want to try to put a message in. Now, if I have a lot of resources, a lot of scale, and I can do that, then I will. And it's very capitalistic. It is about opportunity and using all kinds of strategies, very comprehensive and complex strategies to get the end user to drink or eat more.
I threw a flower, not a bouquet, to the soft drink industry for not marketing on Saturday morning television, which Coke and Pepsi really have never done. How do Coke and Pepsi get to kids?
Well, let me be really clear. As a marketer at Coca-Cola, I was specifically, I was never told not to market to kids. It just was not done overtly. We did not think about it. We didn't do it. We had no data that was coming into us. Anything under 12 or 13 just didn't happen. And that's a fact. Now, I can get to, as soon as they turn 12, I'm like a rabid dog on a something. And I'm trying to grab that person and then get them into the brand because, again, the lifetime value of that person in virtually any kind of marketing is really, really important, especially one that once you get into a product, you don't switch. You just don't switch around. So how do I get to them? Disney, theme parks, American Idol, video games, promotions that are really teen-centric. That is public information and very, very important to those organizations.
What about younger kids? Disney World, American Idol, and so on. Do companies Like Coca-Cola recognized that a lot of little kids go to Disneyland, so let's get the logo.
You know, you're trying to bait me on that. We've had this conversation before. There is no evidence that happens. There's absolutely no evidence from my purview that happens. Now, and there was no conversation that was an occurrence. That environment, whether it be Disney or Six Flags, you know, hot, sweaty, it's a great refreshment moment, and that's as far as that conversation went. So you won't get me to go there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, then let's end.
Sorry.
Oh, another question here.
Hi, Pam Peake from WebMD. I just recently got into watching Mad Men, and you remind me of Don Draper. And anyone who's watched this, and this whole issue of going deeply into the connections with people and back and forth. And I think your points are exquisitely spot on about how one does the branding and the hook for the media, because it's something we deal with all day long. A number of years ago, I got a call from Dean Ornish, one of my dear friends, and he asked me to be on the first Blue Ribbon panel, a medical panel for Pepsi. And I asked why, because I did not want to be a hood ornament on somebody's stationery, which is, you know, oftentimes the case. I said, if we're going to be in it, we're going to do change agent stuff. And so we did. And a number of us, Dave Kessler, the former FDA commissioner, and all the rest of them. And we started a campaign called Smart Spot. I wanted to see curiously whether or not a large giant like this could actually turn itself on itself in certain ways when one thinks about it. It's a brand new category. And the board at Pepsi was very, very antsy about this, one can imagine. Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be the biggest seller of all. But what was fascinating was the first lesson was, yes, it can be done. You can market tap water and make it work. Because I watched it when we had the baked lays, and we were the first ones with the 100-calorie, little offerings that were, and I quote, the safest stuff they had outside of water, et cetera. It was fascinating to watch this whole thing be part of it. But it was also interesting to watch its execution, because on the front page of the Wall Street Journal one day, they showed how Pepsi had blown it in a Chicago Hispanic neighborhood, trying to bring in the safe, healthier foods, but everyone was already hooked on their other foods. And the only way to make that happen, and this is an interesting lesson for everyone, is to find a hero or heroine in the community to be able to help message that and say, no, don't eat that, but eat this instead. It was brilliant when they finally did it, but they had to locate someone associated with a church and someone with a community group to be able to, start getting it going, because it couldn't just come from the giant itself, which is why it's got to be a combined effort. So I think, we need much more of this kind of marketing, really spot-on, smart marketing, because it's possible. It was actually done by the giants. And I think that, this may be the new wave of the future. If we can maybe combine arms somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I hope it is. I absolutely believe. I mean, when I said it was somewhat spontaneous, but I want to be the brand manager of tap water. I think that you could absolutely, and there are some really creative people on this planet, way more creative than myself, who would love to take on that assignment, and to do it in an emotionally connective way. That would do a ton more than some of the activities that are happening today. I guarantee you they would.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to end the session now. Thank you so much, Todd, and let's give him a big emotional applause.